Hi, this is Barrett with the Greenplum Product Management Team, and today we're going to walk through the 3 different ways you could initiate data domain replication of your Greenplum backups using the gpbackup DDBoost plugin. All right, first we're going to talk about replication initiated by gpbackup itself. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the configuration file for your data domain. So we open that up, and as you can see, we're going to have the primary host name, username, storage unit, directory location. But we're also going to see replication turned on and the number of streams. So this is important because if replication is on, then it's going to go to the secondary remote data domain that you have listed at the bottom of the file. So that's where you're going to put in your remote host name, remote username, remote password, remote encryption, etc. I did a different video on encryption, so take a look at that if you don't know how to set it up. It's important to note the replication field is only used by gpbackup. It is ignored by gpbackup manager. All right, let's go ahead and kick off a gpbackup here. So we will follow the data domain best practices of using single data file with the no compression option, and we'll point to our plugin configuration file that is set up for replication. So it has the primary and the remote data domain credentials in it. So the backup is started. And now what we'll do is we'll tail the gpbackup DDBoost plugin config log file. And since we're looking at this from a coordinator point of view in a multi-node setup, we're only going to see the logs from the coordinator. There's not going to be much action because right now the data files are being written. If we look above in the terminal, we're on table 61. So the segment hosts are writing to their own log file. I don't have that open right now, so we'll wait till the data backup is complete. We got 2 more tables to go. Then we'll see action on the coordinator's log file, which will write the 5 metadata files: the config file, the metadata file, our report file, table of contents file, as well as the plugin config file. So now we're seeing some action on the log file. As you can see, we're writing a file, then we're replicating the file. We'll write the next file, replicate the next file, write a file, replicate, until we're complete with all 5 files. Now you can see at the top of the window, the backup is finishing up. So if we were to open up a segment host DDBoost plugin log file, we would see data files being written. And here we go, disconnecting, and our backup is complete. The previous example was from a true multi-node Greenplum system, coordinator, SDW1, SDW2. So it's difficult to show the different log files and how a data segment log file differs from a coordinator's log file. So in this example, we're just examining a single node edition Greenplum cluster, which has the coordinator and the 2 SDW processes on the same physical host. So we change into our gpadmin log file, and we're going to open up the gpbackup DDBoost log. So as we go up, we find where we're going to process our DDBoost config file. We're going to parse it, validate, initialize. We're going to make our connections to the local data domain, and we're going to write our data. So we see here, this is segment 0 writing this data file. Now segment 1 comes in and is writing the data file. Looks like segment 1 finishes before segment 0. And now we kick off the replication. So we write, it lands on the primary, then we kick off replication. So this happens during the run of gpbackup, thus adding to the overhead of the overall duration of gpbackup. So there's a lot of information in the single node log file. So to narrow that down, what we could do is grab a PID, and we could grep for that in the log file, and we can see exactly how the segment's handling the connection, the validation, the initialization, the writing of the data, the replicating of the data, and the disconnection of the local and the remote data domains. So if we scroll to the bottom of the log file, we'll see the 5 metadata files that the coordinator writes. So there's metadata, table of contents, plugin config, our config file, and ultimately our report file. In this demo, we will use gpbackup manager to initiate the replication. To run through the full example, what we're going to do first is modify the configuration file and turn replication off. Seems a little counterintuitive, but that replication field is only for gpbackup, not gpbackup manager. gpbackup manager, when you initiate the replication, it'll always look at this remote section of the YAML file. So we turned it off. Let's verify that it's off. Okay, it's off. So now let's take that same backup that we just did, but this time without replication, and we'll use this information later to compare. So kicking off the backup, we can take a look at the log file, and what we're not going to see in the log file this time is after the data is written. In this case, we're back to the multi-node system. After the metadata files are written, we're not going to see the replication portion of it. Okay, let's go take a look at GP Backup Manager, and we're going to list the backups that we've recently taken. As we can see, here's the two that we've done. The first one is the one without replication. The second one is the one with replication. As you can see from the duration, adds a little bit of overhead as expected. So now what we want to do is we're going to replicate the non-replicated backup. So we're going to take the timestamp from this first one, and we're going to run the replicate backup command. So GP Backup Manager, replicate-backup. Got to give it the plugin configuration file that does have the replication credentials. And we're going to replicate. In the upper terminal, I'll tail the GP Backup DDBoost plugin log. In the lower terminal, we'll see GP Backup Manager as it goes through the replication process. At the end of the replication process, GP Backup Manager will list all the files and the file sizes that have been replicated to the remote data domain. Since this was a 24 segment system, you'll see 24 data files and the 24 corresponding TOC files, as well as the 5 metadata files from the backup itself. So the third way to initiate replication is via the data domain itself. So you'll need to log in with the admin account to your data domain box. And in this is outside the scope of this video, but you could look at the help file for replication, and that'll walk you through different commands. You can also open up the data domain admin guide and take a look at the DD replicator portion of the documentation. Thanks for watching. Please let us know in the comments below what topics you would like us to cover in future videos.